record. Are we recording? Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Special day. I'm relaxed. You know why? Because the Godfather doesn't need to do anything.
that's right. You wanna introduce it? You wanna give them the spiel?
Yeah, the spiel. Yeah. Let's give him the spiel. Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Let's review movies. Let's going to review The Godfather. It is my favorite movie. Is it yours?
Yes. It's top five, but it's number one on the top five.
Right. Number one in the top five. That's incredible for a 16-year-old. I was alive when it was made. Late 1970s. Godfather. Here, we'll put a pick up here. See it up there? Date and year. I think it's 1979. We're not going to get into that. Really first movie that Al Pacino got his face on the screen, and little known. A lot of people don't know this, but when the movie came out, then it got reprocessed and it was in reruns. I saw documentaries, and when they were making the movie by Francis Ford Copolla, they were saying that the guys who were making the movie, the grips, the assistant directors, the set guys, they're like, this Al Pacino guy is so boring.
Yeah,
It is a talkie movie, right?
right. And he doesn't really have like a big role. I mean, when he is talking near the beginning, he's very quiet. So, of course you're gonna think that he's not a good character.
Right. And if you can imagine making the movie, it's just, hey Kay, my father does these things. That I'm not my father. He's kind of like a really quiet kind of guy, where the other ones are more aggressive, his brothers and the Godfather. So, right. So a little quick synopsis: Francis Ford Coppola, he made The Godfather, and then he made Godfather 2, and I think it's the only movies to back Best Picture.
Right.
Little known things about The Godfather. Well, there are known things. We're talking to people here that may not know. The Godfather has Tyler Shire, who plays the Godfather's daughter, and
Yes.
she was Rocky's girlfriend and then wife in the Rocky movie.
Also, Francis Ford Coppola's sister.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, hey Adrian, hey, you like my apartment, Adrian? Hey, and she's like, yeah, I like your apartment. Anyway, little Rocky in there. We'll do that later. And then, of course, the movie is called The Godfather with the great Marlon Brando.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marlon Brando's, he's criticized for kind of mumbling when he talks, and he's 45 years old when he made this movie, and he made him look like a 65-year-old, and he's kind of
we heard he's a brat. He's a pain to work with.
He was kind of a brat to work with. one of his final movies was I think it's called The Score with De Niro and Frank Oz, who does Miss Piggy. Hey Kirby, he was a director, and the guy had the audacity to show up with no pants just because he didn't like the director, so they had to film him from the waist up. That's what I've read. Anyway, as long as your business doesn't
for my business.
What is it? Interfere with my business? Everything's okay. All right. Anyway, so as you can tell, I love this movie. I've watched it 100 times. Every time we watch it, we learn something new. So there's Marlon Brando, the Godfather. There's Al Pacino, the great Al Pacino plays one of the sons. His name is Michael Corleone. It's the Corleone family. You did make a comment about Al Pacino,
right?
Like you can't recognize him, right?
No, he looks so, and his voice. I think it's you never hear him yell. He's really quiet. It's not raspy.
Like it is now.
Right.
Hey. It's not like that. So he can't catch his breath. He's like, hey, how are you? Yeah.
When you see him, you'll know it's him, but it's also gonna be a shock to you because you're gonna, it doesn't look like him. He's not
look like him, and his voice is different. He's like, I think the only time he really, because people turn into the characters that like I think the only time you recognize him was when he's in the hospital and he goes to the nurse when the Godfather's sick, and he goes, "You know who my father is, right?" That's kind of like an Al Pacino movie. Yeah, you know who
You
my
know
father
my
is.
father.
When before it's like, he's like, "Hi, Kay, I'm just your." So then there's the brothers.
Mhm.
We already know Tally Shire. Then there's the
Right.
brothers, and one of
Sonny.
them is the great Sonny. Sonny, he's the great James Caan. This guy's got you know, he's like walks around like this. And the great James Caan, who's awesome. He's been in many movies like Honeymoon in Vegas, where he tries to take the girlfriend away from Nicolas Cage, which is hilarious. He's also did a grandpa movie just recently on Netflix. I got to find out. I'll find it. Okay. And as we talk about these guys, we'll put little pictures up here. We're still trying to figure that out. So we got Marlon Brando, we got Al Pacino, we got the great James Caan. A lot of people don't know who maybe seen this, never seen this movie. James Caan was already on television. He made movies. He made a movie with John Wayne.
Right.
So he was already a veteran, actor. Whereas Al Pacino was just starting, and Marlon Brando was just 1950s icon. Yeah, he was a pain in the butt. Anyway, and then we've got his brother. Who's his brother? The other brother,
It's Freddie.
Fredo.
Fredo.
Right, and the actor's up here. Fredo will have his name, and that actor made a movie
80.
with Al Pacino, where kind of ahead of its time. Al Pacino is involved with, I think, this actor who plays Fredo. Up here is wants to be a trans, but it was addressed in a really weird way in that movie, and we'll talk about that.
The actor Fredo.
The actor in the movie he made with Al Pacino, yeah, where he's Al Pacino's going to rob a bank so he can get money so that I think it's his boyfriend can have an operation to be a woman. Very ahead of its time, also. At that time, it was thought very strange movie. They kind of allude to it, but that actor Fredo, he plays the kind of maybe handicapped brother. Mama. There that.
He's not handicapped. He's just stupid.
Well, you got to be nice. I'm just saying handicapped. Okay,
I don't know personally. I don't think he's in any way like mentally challenged. I just think he's a smart guy. Obviously, he works for the mafia. If he wasn't smart, they wouldn't have.
Well, no, he doesn't work for the mafia. He was born into it. So he's and then we got the great Robert Duvall, right? Great Robert Duvall. He's probably 100 years old now. He lives in Virginia. And a little known fact, and this is true, one of my friends bought his car. He saw like some paperwork after he bought the car. It was a Mercedes, and in it said Duval. And they asked the guy, and they said, "Is this the Duval that lives in Virginia?" Yes, it is. It was his wife's car. But this guy's an amazing actor. He plays Tom Hannigan or Tom Harris, and he's not part of the family, but he's the consigliere or the consul of the mafia family. And he was adopted. He was found in the street, and he was adopted into the family. So I'm as much son to the Godfather as I am. Yeah. So this movie really introduces maybe to the general public in the 1970s, what is the mafia? What is the racket? It's all about protection. We did Goodfellas, right? Goodfellas. What did Harvey Ray Liotta say? What's the mafia? What's it do? It's all about protection.
Right. And then that's they show that in the Godfather. Clearly, it's about protection. You see that everybody's protected. If you know the mafia, you're protected. If you're a family member of the mafia, you're protected. If you're married to a family member in the mafia, you're protected. Everybody's protected, and everybody's it's like a secret society.
Right.
And you really can't touch the people that are in the mafia because they also are in relations with the police. The mafia knows everybody.
Right. So what did Corleone had? He had
political figures. He had a lot of people, but there was one family that had the police specifically, and you'll see about that in the movie how that comes into play, because if you have power over the police, you can't it's scary. You can't make any wrong moves because the police are corrupt.
Right. So this movie takes place in what time period?
This
Right
is
after
like
World War II.
right in 1950s.
Right. But I think the guy said, "Hey, the war's over. It just finished." So late 1946 to 1947, and he
Okay,
was still in a uniform. Michael, who went to the war.
right.
Okay. Um, so what's your favorite line in the movie?
My favorite line.
There's so many.
Um, it's that it's that I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
And that's a lot of people's thing. Yeah, we got a lot of lines out of that movie in history. Guys, people your age, maybe not, but people my age and a little younger, it's like, yeah, I'm making them offer they can't refuse. Let's go to the mattresses. What's that mean? You
That
remember?
means you're gonna die.
Go to the mattresses? What?
That means you're gonna die.
No, no, go to the mattresses is
What?
you're going to the mattresses. You're getting confused with he sleeps with the fishes.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So going to the mattresses means they get the mattresses and they all, when they're going to have an inter mafia war, gang war, they go to places that are hideouts and they all sleep in places and they're just like having battlegrounds, almost like guerrilla warfare. And they need mattresses. And then sleep with the fishes when they showed up with the fish means that, don't mess it. I don't want to mess it up for the viewers, but someone is dead. That's
that
sleep
means
with the fish.
someone's died, and they you usually send it to your enemy. You send them
Yeah.
two
They
fishes. There you go.
right. So so this is an incredibly talky movie, but what's your opinion about why is it engaging? It would not be engaging while you're making it. Editing is everything. It's
Right.
engaging. Why?
I think it's because it's a lot. It's a lot of talking, and I think it's hard to realize that. Like obviously I don't realize that it's a talking movie because I'm like intrigued. And I think what makes you intrigued is kind of like just the story and the way they talk. Like all these actors are so just professional and they're playing their characters like amazing. And a lot of the movie is leading up to a big event
Right.
or is leading up to something big. So when you're like it's the anticipation, it's the excitement of what's happening because there's really not a lot of action. When there
No,
is action, it's intense, but there's not a lot of action. But
I got to go to the bathroom.
right.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of action, but when there is, that something's gonna happen because these are mafia guys. You know that they can do something, but you're waiting to see what they do.
Right.
And it's cool because all the characters you wouldn't expect them to be scary guys. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
all nice people. At the beginning of the movie, you're watching. They're like, "Oh, this is nice."
They're a
That's
family.
family,
It starts out with a wedding.
right?
That's what it starts out with. It's a wedding. But then, that's the whole bit. That's probably like what I heard was very unpopular when they were making the movie is that people are like, where's this going? I'm doing a wedding and I'm doing this guy, he's talking to him in a room. And then, he's saying, you're gonna, I made him an offer he can't refuse. Right. But when you put it all together and it builds up, how it goes from 0 to 50, I say the meeting, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I see the meeting that he has with that other gentleman who wants to do deals with him. Right after that, you know, you know, it
And
goes.
there's so many. It's kind of like Goodfellas. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of
Goodfellas
things that
covered
are
that. You can look for that episode. Yeah.
right. We'll have that one up, but it's kind of like you're looking for a lot. There's a lot of things going on because when at the beginning of the movie, people are coming to the Godfather to ask him favors because he's the leader of the family, the Don.
Well, on the day of Madonna's wedding, the Godfather cannot refuse a, a favor. That's what it is. Yeah.
So that's why everybody's coming to him, and you kind of realize that he has to do a lot. He has to handle a lot of things, and it's not like easy things like, oh, I gotta go get my car washed. Can you do it for me? It's I want these people killed. Can you do it for me? And it's they just handle it, and
Right. But there is
you do
justice.
see that they will.
Yeah, we're not murders. There's justice. So people come for favors. Some come for I need help getting into the movie industry. There's a guy in there that is really playing Frank Sinatra. They always said Frank Sinatra was helped by the mafia, and the way he became famous, because there was a time when his voice wasn't the way was it changed, and he started making movies like From Here to Eternity, which is a great movie with Frank Sinatra and Burt Lancaster. Awesome movie about the World War II, the beginning of it. It also it also has if I'm not getting my movie wrong, it has Montgomery Cliff in it too. We can cover that too. But we always do 6 degrees here of Kevin Bacon or movie stars. So yeah, this movie is a build-up kind of movie, talky, but you learn a couple of things. What you learn about during negotiations. And I said, and I
Right.
and I said to you and your younger brother Vigo, I said,
No,
you can learn something here.
yeah, I think when we first watched the movie, you like we watched that scene and you told us about it and we were like not really caring. But then there was like one day where you were like making a negotiation for like you were trying to buy something and you were trying to negotiate the price. And I think I put in my input or I asked something or said something and you told me to be quiet and ended up saving us that deal because
Right.
if I would have said anything else they would have hired the price. And so then after you watch that scene, he's having an interview with an important guy that they kind of want to, connect with. And while the Godfather is talking, because obviously he's running the meeting, he's the lead guy, he knows what he has to say. The son says something and says what
Sunny.
Sonny says what he's thinking. And that's one thing you can't say. You can't let them know what you're thinking. You can't let them know what your plan is. You just have to have a conversation with them and they're there for you. So you have to ask them what they want and what they can give to you.
Right.
And
And
that,
it's kind of a valuable lesson. When
yeah.
you're negotiating like for a car or something, well, now you can get CarMax, you don't have to fight. But sometimes, when they ask you a question, how much you want to pay a month, that's not the right question. And you shouldn't answer it. And you should say something else. And when the guy's talking, you don't have to agree when you leave before you leave the room.
Mhm.
You just go, I'll think about it. And you don't, and we won't
Because
say
they
that
want
part.
you to buy the car. They want you
Right.
to get the car. So
Right.
you're not there to, get a
They
car
want-
for them. You're not like, oh, I need to get this car. They want to sell you the car. And it was the same in that meeting. That guy wanted to make business with the Corleone family. And so they wanted to make business as well, but they don't want to he doesn't want to let the guy know that they
Exactly.
want to make business.
And
The second he does, then the guy knows, oh, he wants to make business. Okay, I'm going to make it harder on him.
right. Or he's gonna say, I think about it, but as you know, he says, as long as your business doesn't collide with mine, and I don't care how a man makes his business. I don't care, right? But we're giving you a crux of negotiation, and then also how he does favors for people, and you when you ask for a favor, he says, what's the other line? He says, and in the future, I may ask you a favor, and then the Godfather's uh, lawyer says, and the Godfather may ask you for a favor, and the Godfather will expect you to comply with that favor,
Right.
which which
If you don't,
yeah, if you don't, then you get in trouble. And then, and that's how it is, favor for favor and protection.
and I think the last thing that's really important about the movie and that also keeps you intrigued is kind of the backstabbing. There's a lot going on because there's a lot of families. You can name like 6, 7 families, and they're all working separately but together because of course they have to work together because they're the mafia. But when a war comes along, they're not working together. And you're gonna see that, people in the families are gonna, betray their own family or backstab. And at
Right.
the
And
end, you're gonna see what happens and you're gonna wonder like, how did I not notice that the
right.
entire
It's like a chess game,
right?
and that's what the Godfather was great at. And the transformation of Michael Al Pacino, how it's so funny that the least, I won't get into that, but that he's got to think ahead 10 steps.
Hmm.
They'll be in the car and somebody will say something and goes, no, 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 you're wrong. No, you're wrong.
You can't sleep when you're with the mafia. That's
Right. He goes, no, you're wrong. It's not who you think it is. And, this is what's going on behind the scenes. And some people can't see through that. An
so
invitation.
that's how you kind of see, like, you gain respect for the Don,
Yeah.
and slowly you gain respect for Michael as well, because he kind of takes after his dad. He begins to learn, like, how his dad is thinking, and he sets up things on his own. And it's the transformation, like you said. The transformation is really just how they progressively are focusing on the story, but also showing how Michael is growing a long time, because they have to focus on the other characters. They have to focus on the main guy, the Godfather, but they're focusing on love. I'll go back to what I'm saying.
Okay.
Hold up. He's talking on the phone. What
Okay.
was I? Oh yeah. So the transformation. So
Right. Without, I don't want to give too much more of that because that's the thing. That's the key to the movie.
yeah, I just say look out for it.
Yeah, look out for it. And
Pay
and
attention.
and so this movie, I not like you guys do today. People don't read a lot of books. I read the book. It's by Mario Puzo, and Mario Puzo, um, and we'll show information here. Mario Puzo wrote the book, and the screenplay was done by Mario Puzo and by Francis Ford Copolla. But I always laugh because it's I think the only book I've ever read where almost page for page every scene is the same. You'll read a book and then like I read the book I Am Legend years ago, with Will Smith, right? And I was all geared up for the movie, and there's nothing in the movie at all practically that matches the book, and that's common. But you never see scene per scene. Like you can take that book and go, he took the scene and he just translated it to the cinema.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's only one part missing. There's a thing with the singer, the Frank Sinatra type singer. His name is I forget what his name is.
Joe Montana.
Something like, yeah, you sound like the football player. Montana. I forget what his name
is. Johnny Fontaine.
Johnny Fontaine. Joe Montana. The San Francisco.
Anyway. I remember Johnny, John, Joe is
Johnny Fontaine. In the book, remember the director that wouldn't give him the part. Well, the director, they have a couple of pages in the book, chapters where Fontaine is with that girl that he stole away from the director. That's like the only difference at all. So
I mean, they talk about it a little bit in the movie, but they don't show it.
Right. So there is what you could rate one of the scariest scenes. I mean, not scariest, like most shocking scenes ever in movie history. It's got to be up there. Your friend Olivia freaked out, right?
Yeah, we watched that scene specifically with her.
Yeah,
it's near the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, don't ruin it for yourself, okay? Because it is shocking. Because you're thinking murder, oh, that's easy, but there's other ways to make you,
and it goes back to I'm gonna give him an offer he can't refuse.
Right? Yeah, I'm gonna give him an offer he can't refuse. How? Well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna no, don't worry. I'll give him an offer he can't refuse. Well, that offer was amazing. Anyway, so, I really don't have any more to say, man, other than watch the movie and you will see the pacing, and you'll watch it over and over again, and watch out for, like what we talked about. You can't trust anybody. Alliances are unknown. Movies are not made like that anymore. Movies are straightforward. They got the black hats and the white hats. Surprises don't happen, especially there's no CGI. The one thing about this movie that I like in terms of maybe costuming and stuff is there's a rough old look to the clothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they show 1930s and 40s, everything looks new, right? This everything looks kind of old. New York looks old. New York looks like it looks in an old photograph. Very well done in that respect. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get into the mafia movies, I say, go watch a review on Goodfellas and watch Goodfellas because that's like the lower level of The Godfather. And if
Well,
you're
right, it's another time period too, but it's a yeah. The Godfather is a yeah, but I don't know.
that
I
that,
don't know if that's fair because Scorsese is awesome and
but I
he's
say if you're gonna
kinetic,
watch
you know.
a mafia movie, you watch Goodfellas first, and then you watch The Godfather
Oh, really?
because Goodfellas is like it shows the intensity, the quickness, the always moving, the thinking of the mafia. But then the Godfather kind of shows like just the coolness of how they move, how
Yeah,
calm
yeah, but it's also the time period, you
it
know,
is.
Scorsese and that's 1960s to 1980s, right?
Yeah,
And the mafia at that time, was different than the mafia before. They already like remember when in Goodfellas, Ray Liotta says this is before Appalachia when he started 1950s. He was a young kid like you. He was like 13, 16 years old. And after Appalachia, which is when the mafia got caught having a meeting and people paid the price for that, um, then the mafia started breaking down and then they started getting into drugs. And you'll see that in it's a different time period, but the mafia we're watching, The Godfather, is the immigrants of the 1900s, and that's
yeah,
Don Corleone, who came in the 1900s,
yeah.
and he made
We'll
his
see that
way,
in a second.
and he was from Sicily. And he's you'll learn in the second movie that's there's a reason why he came, and why he you know started a family, Americanized himself, and that just the way he talks. And I heard that Marlon Brando, he said he knew people like that, I'm kind of like this, and this whole thing with the hand, and you know and just like Goodfellas, Paulie doesn't have to move. Why? Because he doesn't have to. And The Godfather, he doesn't have to move. Why? Because
Same way, those guys don't move, man.
they don't move.
All these fat, you know, Don Corleone is fat, and they just sit around and they handle things on their own, and then they send the lean young guys to do it for them.
And that was the whole point too in the mafia, which is not far from the truth. Is it's hard to get them until they did the RICO Act, which is that the fact that you are around a person that is doing bad things and it is employed by you, it's impossible that you're not part of this. That was the hardest thing. The RICO Act really allowed an association with proof that you can go down as the Don, because they'd always be like, I don't know this guy. I don't talk to him. I didn't tell him to do that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but they can prove collusion through wiretapping, and not have to have that guy fire the gun.
Right.
And that was a big thing, according to what I've read. So that's two, man. Godfather, Martin Scorsese. dude, dude,
Oh,
don't yawn. We have to cut that out. So that's two, man. Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas, and The Godfather, which it's my favorite movie of all time. I can watch it 100 times. Unfortunately, it's true. And it's in your top what? Your top what?
it's number one in my top five.
All right. All right. I've infected you correctly. All right. All right. And your blurb at the end, as usual.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That is our review on The Godfather. Great movie, number one on my list. If you want to check out more Mafia ones, we did a review on Goodfellas. If you want to check out just a different type of movie, we have some other reviews on the channel. You can go check those out. And if you want us to review any movies to your request that you want to see, or that you're not sure if you want to see it, you want to know somebody that's watched it and know their opinion, we can give that to you, and just drop it in the comments, and we'll get right to it.
All right, let's review movies.
Review movies.
All right. All right, guys. Ciao.
That was